Belal Muhammad is back, and he's going to be fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov. Now, Shavkat Rakhmonov and Belal Muhammad, this is quite literally the worst title fight in casual fan history. But I actually love this fight. I'm guessing we all love this fight, or all the hardcores tuning in love this fight. Even though it's a Belal Muhammad fight, this is actually, in my opinion, the best title fight that the welterweight division has seen since, I'm going to go ahead and say, Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. And I'll explain why in a little bit, but UFC 310 was announced. A lot of us thought it was going to be an Islam Makhachev, Arman Tsarukyan card, but it turns out it's Belal Muhammad, and a lot of people are saying that Dana White sent his hitman, Shavkat Rakhmonov, after Belal. I don't know, dude. It's just funny saying his name like that. But either way, dude, you know, listen, I honestly don't think it's really Dana White just pissed that Belal's champ, even though he probably is. It seemed like Shavkat was next in line anyway. I mean, what was the alternative? Kamaru Usman? I don't think so. So, essentially, Shavkat Rakhmonov is here, and, you know, I'm going to just say it right now. I'm going to break down this entire card so far, just give my early picks, because this card is actually stacked. And I just realized how stacked it was when I was checking the website, because I just thought it was, you know, the 3 fights that were announced recently, but I forgot. Gane is on there, Evloev's on there, Anthony Smith is also on here. But, you know, we may as well just get into the main event. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is overrated. You know, he's an aura merchant. There's no secret about that. He's definitely an aura merchant. But I just don't understand where, you know, people get the nerve to act like Shavkat Rakhmonov is like 12-0 in the UFC. This guy has 3 good wins. 1 over Wonderboy, a submission, which is honestly crazy. But he had an ugly war with Jeff Neal. Great win. I mean, he beat up Jeff Neal and then submitted him. It was a war. But that's how Shavkat can fight, you know. And I'm not going to give my prediction yet. Just wait on it. And he beat Neil Magny. Other than that, Carlston Harris. I mean, Shavkat Rakhmonov fought the smallest welterweight in UFC history in his fight before that. It was the smallest welterweight that there's ever been under the sun. Shavkat Rakhmonov fought him. He's not going up against a pipsqueak this time. It's Belal Muhammad, who has gotten bigger as the years progress. Some people assume he's on the sauce. You know, he's got some crazy cardio, and he's pretty strong. I want to pick Belal. I think Belal's got great experience, and I think that he's actually better than people still think. You know what I mean? I doubted him going into the Edwards fight. But, you know, before I give my prediction, because it kind of relates to it, the reason why this is the best welterweight title fight since Usman and Colby is because it's going to be a war. I mean, think about it like this. You know, we think of Kamaru Usman as some, you know, absolute killer, even to this day. Even though he's older and he's on a downwards, you know, part of his career, we still think of him as a killer. But Kamaru Usman could not accomplish what Belal Muhammad was able. I'm going to stop fucking around with his name. Belal Muhammad. I just have fun saying Belal. I think that was a Colby name. But either way, Kamaru Usman could not do what Belal Muhammad was able to accomplish on the feet. Fair enough. Belal is probably a better grappler and jiu-jitsu guy than Kamaru Usman, and he was able to control Leon Edwards. But I'm talking about the striking. Belal Muhammad was piecing up Leon Edwards and making it a dogfight. Belal Muhammad was not getting rocked on the feet and looking lost against Leon Edwards when Kamaru Usman was. So a lot of us, we think of Kamaru Usman as still like, you know, he's maybe not at his peak anymore, but he's still a fucking killer. And some people would pick him to beat Shavkat Rakhmonov. Belal Muhammad, let's not sit here and say styles make fights. Belal Muhammad beat beat Edwards, but that doesn't mean he's better than Usman. Dude, he has a similar style to Usman. He's a wrestler who's got decent striking because he has the threat of the takedown. And, you know, his hands are improving as his career goes on, just like Usman's hands got better as he was, you know, getting deeper into his championship run. Dude, Belal Muhammad is better than Kamaru Usman. He has a better striking pressure game than Kamaru Usman today. Okay, he took the dog fight to Leon Edwards and beat the shit out of him. I thought Shavkat Rakhmonov was the one that was going to be the first person to dethrone Leon Edwards by bringing him a dogfight. It was Belal Muhammad. Now, of course, a lot of it was grappling. And yeah, he wasn't like rocking Leon Edwards, but he was getting in his face. It kind of was similar to the way that Islam Makhachev was having success against Dustin Poirier. They looked kind of similar in the way that they were boxing. I think Islam has cleaner hands, but either way, dude, this is a sick fight. And that's why I think it's going to be such a good fight, because the last time we had an amazing fight at welterweight for a title, it was Usman and Colby. They kind of canceled out and it became a war. Belal is super tough, underratedly tough. Granite chin. His cardio is ridiculous. Okay, so I don't think he's going to break early on in this fight. The only way I see Belal breaking is if he's just damaged a lot, you know, sort of like Khalil and Pereira, without Khalil's kind of gassing out, rather, you know, just the damage he was taking. But I think this is going to be a war on the feet. I think it's going to be a war on the feet. And I think it's going to be an epic fight. Belal's cardio, his toughness, his pressure on the feet. And I think, you know, he's going to have a lot of fire going into this matchup, because everyone looks at Shavkat Rakhmonov as the boogeyman of the welterweight division. But, you know, they were saying that Leon Edwards was too clean for him. They weren't calling Leon the boogeyman. They were saying Belal will never beat Leon. All right, he's just not, he's not on that level. And I was one of those people. I was like, Leon's too technical, he's too clean, Belal will never beat him. And he used that as motivation. He was saying everyone looks at Leon Edwards as like this unbeatable, you know, perfect striker on the feet. And I'm going to beat the shit out of him. I'm going to ragdoll him. I'm going to beat him up on the feet. I'll outstrike him. And we thought he was crazy, but he went out there and did it. I think Belal Muhammad can stand with Shavkat, and I'm not going to be surprised if he takes him down. Now, I am going to pick Shavkat. I may as well just get to my prediction now. I am going to pick Shavkat to TKO Belal, and it just comes down to the fact that Shavkat is a fucking animal, and he's just as durable as Belal, probably more durable. Bilal's been knocked out before. Shavkat, no. He's come close to being knocked out back in the day, but I know, like, I've been praising Belal so far in this video because he is actually still underrated, and I'm not going to be surprised if he wins, but I'm not going to pick against Shavkat. Shavkat is an aura merchant. He has the aura. He had the Jeff Neal fight where he was, you know, Jeff Neal's a heavy hitter, and Shavkat was eating his punches like Tic Tacs. I think Shavkat's going to destroy him every single round and 10-8 him and absolutely maul him. But, you know, Belal's pretty dangerous. All right? No, but all jokes aside, I am leaning with Shavkat, but part of that is because we, including myself, assume or tend to assume that Shavkat is this guy that you can't grapple against. You know, and it's because he's got the OV at the end of his name. It's because he goes down and he takes people down like Wonder Boy and he submits them, and he's an offensive grappler. He submits everyone. Okay, but somebody's got to check this guy's defense, brother. Okay? Who has actually went out there and tried to take down Shavkat Rakhmonov? Except for what? Carlston Harris? And Carlston Harris is not really the best grappler. I mean, he can grapple, he can wrestle, but, you know, he's like a 50-year-old man. At least he looks like one. I mean, he's not actually 50, but I think Belal Muhammad's a much better wrestler than anyone Shavkat's ever fought. And Shavkat, yeah, it's like, listen, man, he's not the king of wrestling. Let's just say that. You know, it's like he took forever to try to take down Wonderboy. Buckley got Wonderboy down whenever he wanted. Couldn't keep him there. Buckley's not on the same level of threat on the ground as Shavkat is, or even a Belal. I mean, Belal was taking down Wonderboy and beating him up. Buckley couldn't keep him there, but he at least took him down. Shavkat Rakhmonov couldn't get Wonderboy down for like 4 minutes of the first round of their fight. Eventually got him down and submitted him, but he was really struggling to take him down. His wrestling is not the best in this division. Belal Muhammad, I think, is at least top 2, probably. Best wrestlers in this division, maybe the best. And he's got ridiculous cardio. I mean, listen, I think it's possible that he goes out there and takes Shavkat Rakhmonov down. Shavkat's not really built like a guy who's got the best takedown defense in the world either. Right? He's kind of like, you know, one of these guys, you kind of push him a little bit and he falls over. Shavkat's not necessarily that durable. No, I'm joking. He does not look like that. He looks like a brick wall, bro. But You know, I just think Belal might be able to take him down. I mean, we all assume Shavkat, yeah, man, you can't grapple against Shavkat. Where has that been proven against a high-level grappler? I mean, we'll see. I'm picking Shavkat, and 30% of my pick is based on aura alone. Let me just say that. But I think this is going to be a close fight. I think it's going to be a war. This is going to be an absolute war. You know, Belal Muhammad, even though he's a decision guy, he doesn't shy away from a scrap nowadays. And when I say nowadays, I mean, at least in his last fight, you know, people step it up when they fight for the belt the first time. Kamaru Usman was a decision guy, and then he fought for the belt. And yeah, he still took Woodley to a decision, but you could tell he fucking stepped it up, okay? And then throughout his championship reign, he stepped it up again and again and again. Belal Muhammad stepped it up and had an entertaining fight with Leon Edwards, at least on the feet. And I think he's going to go out there and take the fight to Shavkat and meet him right in the middle. Now, I'm picking Shavkat because he's got such a power advantage. Belal just, he doesn't have a lot of pop in his hands. And, you know, he has shown an ability to have many different game plans, and he can win by keeping it on the outside and throwing head kicks and body kicks. He's a guy that can kick on the outside and win too, but I think that it's going to be difficult to do that with Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is, you know, a guy that does move forward as well, that's always looking for the finish. So I think it is going to be a bit of a dogfight, and I kind of have to favor the guy that's also got a granite chin, but, you know, 100% finish rate and aura, you know? So I'm going to go with Shavkat, but it's going to be a fucking sick fight. I can't wait for it. And, you know, I'm not going to be surprised if Belal wins. I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not doubting Belal again. I'm just going to pick Shavkat, but, you know, I could definitely see a pathway to victory for Belal over 5. As, you know, usually he's a guy that gets it over 5. Alexander Pantoja, Kaya Sukuda. My first reaction to this was, what the heck is going on? How on earth is this guy getting a title shot in his first UFC fight? As you can see, he's not on screen because the UFC doesn't have a photo of him yet. He's a big star in Japan, but we don't really know what this guy is like, really. Unless you've gone back and watched all his fights, you're probably similar to me right now. You don't even know what Kaya Sukuda's style is really like. From what I've seen, he's aggressive and he's a striker for the most part, but still, I'm going to have to go back and watch a bunch of his fights, okay? Because I've just seen highlights. I actually don't mind it, and that's because Brandon Royval, who just beat Tatsuro Taira, by the way, amazing fight, epic fight, and Brandon Royval is now my favorite flyweight. He is my new favorite flyweight. He actually does talk shit too, which is something that he's been doing for a while, but he's getting better. I mean, he's having a resurgence in his career. You can't do a trilogy with Royval and Pantoja, though. At least not now. You know, he deserves a title shot. He beat Brandon Moreno, former champion, one of the best flyweights ever, and just had a fight of the year contender fight with Tatsuro Taira and took it to him and damaged him. And Tatsuro Taira was undefeated, who I thought was going to win that fight and get a title shot. So that is a fight you need to make. You need, or at least you need to give Royval a title fight. But it's like, you know, do we really want a trilogy? Trilogy number 5 for Alexander Pantoja? It's like every single fight this guy has is basically a trilogy, unless it's someone that's getting a undeserved shot. So it is what it is, man. Kaya Sukuda is going to go in there with, you know, the Urseg charm of, you know, nothing to lose. And we saw how well Urseg did, arguably beat Pantoja. And, you know, he's going to have aura. He's going to have aura coming into this fight, you know, with people hyping him up from Japan. And again, there's that, when you have nothing to lose going into a title fight, the undeserved title matchup, and especially in the modern era, these flyweights, even the unranked ones, are really good. This might be the closest division, most, you know, closely contested division in the UFC, which kind of means you kind of have to give Pantoja some slack for not dominating all of his opponents. But at the end of the day, I am going to go with Pantoja, but I don't mind it. It is what it is. What else are you going to do? Amir Albazi? We're just not going to do that, all right? I'd rather Kaya Sukuda, who supposedly fights like a madman, fight for the belt on a debut. You know, it's not a big deal. Who gives a fuck? Like, what are we going to do? Royval 3? You don't always have to go 100% based on merit. It's like, you know, Royval can get his merit-based title fight again, but he just had a war, so it's like he's not going to be ready for December anyway. He'll fight the winner of this, and hopefully it's Kaya Sukuda. I mean, listen, I don't dislike Pantoja, but it'd be cool to see Kaya Sukuda get a big win, and we'll have like a megastar from Japan. So, yeah, I don't mind that fight. Don't mind it at all. I'm actually looking forward to it, but I think Pantoja is going to dominate him. Ciryl Gane versus Volkov. Yeah, I am going to go with Gane. I don't want Gane to win. I kind of want Volkov to win just because he's been more active, and Gane has just, you know, I mean, Gane, let's be honest. Yeah, he wasn't going to be the LeBron James of MMA, dethroning Michael Jordan and John Jones. He wasn't going to be the LeBron James, okay? So I was wrong on that. But at the end of the day, this guy does have insane potential, and he's still very good. He is still very good. But, you know, Gane is not this big finisher. He's not the most dangerous guy. And he had a relatively close fight with Volkov the first time that they fought. And I don't know if he's improved that much, whereas Volkov has improved a lot. Not only is he packed on maybe 15 pounds of muscle since their first fight in 2021, but it was a close fight, and Volkov has gotten a lot bigger, 15 pounds of muscle bigger probably. He hits harder. He's craftier than ever. And you know what? I thought that Pavlovich was going to smoke him just because he's fast and has a long reach, but we found out that Volkov can fight on the back foot, and he's actually, you know, he's a guy that can stick and move. Whereas Volkov, I always thought of Volkov as, you know, this long-rangey guy that you kind of push him and he falls over. You know, the stiff, you know, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Volkov's one of those stiff guys. He's off balance. You push him and he falls over, and he, you know, you can hear it 1,000 miles away. He's not that stiff. He's not that oafy. You know, Volkov is got a little bit more he's got a little bit more finesse in his step than you would think. Now, Gane is all finesse. Gane is, you know, Gane's like a freaking agile cat on the feet. He's hard to catch. Volkov doesn't have crazy pop though, so this is the issue. You know, got a guy like Pavlovich. Pavlovich is someone that just goes in there and starts slugging. And, you know, I think it's safe to say Pavlovich is the most overrated heavyweight boxer in the history of the sport, most likely. I mean, we were talking about Pavlovich. His boxing is next level. You know, he's a more technical boxer than Francis. And he goes out there and, listen, Pavlovich looks like a killer in his shadow boxing videos, but when it all comes down to it, he's got a jab, but I don't know, man. Volkov's pacing him up, and Volkov's good, but still. Pavlovich hits hard, but the issue is Gane is someone that has a lot more volume than Pavlovich. So Volkov beat Pavlovich. That was really impressive, but Pavlovich is not coming at you with a lot of volume. Gane's going to be throwing the oblique kicks, the spinning back kicks, the body kicks. He's going to be in. He's going to be out. He's going to be faster. And I just think Gane's going to win, to be honest. Like, I just think it's one of those matchups where it's like the MMA gods are too cruel to let a grafter like Volkov get this one done. Someone that's really been, you know, putting his nose to the grindstone throughout the past couple of years and just working in silence, and he's going to get beat by the guy coming off of the movie set. I want him to win. It makes sense that he would win. I think Gane is just going to go in there and fucking win, man. Just by a hair. Just by like a couple of strikes around. Via getting favored by the judges because he's the big star in France, right? We'll see, though. I think Volkov has a good chance to win. The issue with Volkov is that he just doesn't have a lot of finishing potential. And it's not like you need that to beat Gane necessarily, but I mean, like, can you think of a heavyweight that's going to beat Gane that doesn't finish him? I mean, who's really just going to go out there and outstrike Gane? Volkov is not going to just take Gane down and lay on him. He might actually do that now that I said he wouldn't, but you know, if we're not talking about grappling, just striking, I mean, can you really think of other heavyweights that are going to outpoint Gane if it's not Volkov? And will Volkov really be the one to do it? Because I think Aspinall would knock Gane out. I don't know if he outpoints him. I think he KOs him or submits him easily, but Gane is kind of the points guy. He's like the, you know, the volume guy, and he's very fast. You know, Gane is one of those guys that has a lot of potential, but we'll see what this time off has done to him, because it may not do him any favors, and it probably hasn't done him any favors. You know, the idea of him getting better is unlikely, so we'll see. But Vicente Luque versus Nick Diaz. Now, this is an absolutely phenomenal fight. And a lot of people don't like this one. And I just don't understand why. I mean, Vicente, you know, it's not prime Vicente Luque. It's not like they're feeding him to the wolves. You know, Vicente is kind of one of these guys that he's fallen off a little bit. But Nick Diaz is just a marauder. And when you get Nick Diaz in there and he's giving you the stare, like, you know, and he's walking around and he's coming off of the tofu diet and the Iron Man competition that he did the week before, just overtrained, stringy, not dense. And you got a guy like Nick Diaz just freaking huffing and puffing and putting the dukes up the old-fashioned way and just kind of going out there and throwing strikes at the speed of a tortoise with the durability of an old angry man. Who, you know, keep in mind, an angry man is still a dangerous man, but an old angry man, it's like they're not the most durable. That's a dangerous fight for Vicente. You know, a very dangerous fight, very dangerous matchup. I just think Nick Diaz is going to get him. I just think he's going to go in there and rip a body shot and potentially, you know, I could possibly see the liver shot. You know, Nick Diaz, he has a tendency to kind of, you know, pepper people with the jab early and then start landing the right. And, you know, Vicente's got a very durable game, and he hits hard, and he is probably going to smoke Nick Diaz and easily win this fight and just destroy him and knock him out. But I just think Nick Diaz has got a real gnarly chance. I'm joking, guys. This is an abomination. Again, what are we doing? I understand that we wanted to see Tony versus Nick, but that's not going to happen because the Diaz brothers just don't fight common opponents. It is what it is. I don't know why, but they just don't. But why does it have to be Vicente Luque? Couldn't it be Nico Price? Couldn't it be, I don't know, Donald Cerrone, bring him back out of retirement and offer him a big paycheck to fight Nick Diaz? Why does it have to be Vicente Luque, who, fair enough, like he got beat by Joaquin Buckley, but it's Buckley who just knocked out Wonder Boy. Vicente Luque, even though he's not in his prime necessarily anymore, he's still a extremely dangerous dude to fight for an old Nick Diaz who got pity TKO'd by Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler literally didn't try to hurt him in the first round and just kind of literally carried him to the second and was still being nice to him in the second. And it was a pity TKO, right, where Robbie hit him with like a clean shot and Nick just went down and that was it. It wasn't even like a flush knockdown or something like that. Why did they have to do Vicente? It should be Nico Price. You know, it should be, I'm trying to think. Maybe get Volk in there or something, you know, at least Volkanovski. You know, he's a featherweight, man. Get him a freaking legacy fight. Not Volk. That would actually be bad for Nick Diaz too. I just, you know, this is not a good matchup. I'm not looking forward to this. I think for Nick Diaz, you give him an old head. But Vicente Luque is not an old head. So I don't understand this matchup. It's not good for Nick. He's going to get beat up. And I just don't see him having a freaking chance to win this fight. If he looked as bad as he looked against Robbie Lawler in 2021, how's he going to look a month before 2025 with another 3-year layoff? So, yeah, I don't think Nick Diaz has a chance. Unfortunately, it's kind of a sad matchup. Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev. I think Movsar beats Aljo by knocking him out or just hurting him on the feet. You know, I think Aljamain Sterling is going to... I know that, you know, former champion Aljamain Sterling, bantamweight skill, lighter weight class skill. I don't see Movsar Evloev out-grappling Aljamain Sterling, I'll tell you that. I don't see it. He's not going to out-grapple him because Aljo has that bantamweight lighter man skill. But Aljo is, you know, 34, 35. Movsar is 30. And I just think that Evloev, he's just underrated on the feet. I still think he lost to Arnold Allen, but he is underrated on the feet. He actually has decent hand speed. And let's talk about this. He rocked Arnold Allen. Okay? Giga Chikadze wasn't rocking Arnold Allen all over the place. Max Holloway wasn't rocking him all over the place. Movsar Evloev had Arnold Allen wobbling and bobbling around in the second round. Yeah, I think he lost that fight, but I'll give him credit. He looked good on the feet. He has underrated striking. I mean, we saw what he did to, fair enough, I mean, this was on short notice, Diego Lopez. On the feet, he was kind of beating him up as the rounds went on, but that was like a day's notice for Diego, so that's not really something to bring up anyway. But Movsar has good striking. Aljamain, we didn't really see a lot of his striking against Kattar. He really just, chain wrestled against him and did a phenomenal job. I don't think Movsar has a lot of pop. I think people make fun of him too much for not having pop. I think he has more pop than people say he has, because I can see the impact that his strikes have on people. Like, he does have decent power. Okay, yeah, he's not a KO guy, but he has okay power. Like, if you watch his fight with Diego Lopez, at least in the ground and pound exchanges, like, he was landing some nasty ground and pound on Diego Lopez. Really powerful ground and pound. I think he's going to outdamage Aljamain Sterling on the feet. I think the grappling is going to cancel out. And, Aljamain has the funky style on the feet, the long-rangey kicks, but I just think Evloev's going to outdamage him, outpower him on the feet, and I think he's going to win this by decision. But again, this could be another case of me doubting Aljo, former bantamweight champion, but Evloev does have elite skills. Like, he is a top 5 featherweight, 100%. He is elite. And Calvin Kattar, he's not on Evloev's level right now. And I mean, even before Aljo fought Kattar, I would have said that. So this is a tough matchup for Aljo. I'll be rooting for Aljo. I will be rooting for Aljo. I want Aljo to win. I think it'll be a competitive fight. But I just think Evloev's going to get it done, just edging it out. Anyway, Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Dominic Reyes. You got to go with Anthony Smith. I mean, you just got to go with Anthony Smith on this one. 38-20. I mean, that's just 10 times the experience that Dominic Reyes has. A guy like Dominic Reyes, he's not going to come in here and beat Anthony Smith. Okay? I think Dominic Reyes is actually going to go in there, and I think he's going to knock Anthony Smith out in the first round, unfortunately. Okay? This is a bittersweet fight because on one hand, Dominic Reyes is back in the win column, and that's a second win in a row. And Dominic Reyes needs a second win right now, and I want him to win more than anything right now. It felt really good seeing him get a KO in his last outing. All right, really happy Dominic Reyes got the KO. It honestly seemed like, I mean, his career was the most tragic career in the UFC at the moment. Or, I mean, at the time. Not at the moment. At the time, it was the most tragic career. Beats John Jones, gets robbed, and then gets knocked out brutally 3 times in a row. And then he gets a KO. I think he's going to knock Anthony Smith out. Anthony Smith has the grappling, but Dominic Reyes has good takedown defense, and he's much stronger. He's much more athletic. He's an athlete, let's not forget. And Anthony Smith doesn't even shoot takedowns like that. And listen, I know Roman Dolidze is a middleweight, and we talk about lighter man skill, but Reyes is a better striker than Roman, the middleweight Dolidze. And Dolidze kind of pieced up Anthony Smith. It's a bittersweet matchup because Anthony Smith is going to lose, and I want Anthony Smith to win too. I'm a fan of Anthony Smith. I always want him to win. Like back in the day, it'd be one of those things where it's like, oh man, this guy's talking like he's the triple champ and he's the Nate Diaz of the UFC or whatever. And then he, goes out there and he's not as good as he says he is, but you don't want to see him lose all the time though, because then it's just one of those things where it's like, fuck man, like, is he ever going to win again? I want Anthony Smith to win, but I don't know if I want him to win this one against Reyes. But I'll be sad if he loses. Like, I actually root for Anthony Smith every time he fights. I will be rooting for him. But it's like, how could you not root for Reyes too? I think Reyes, I'd rather him get this one done. He's still young. You know, 2 wins in a row for him would be huge for Anthony Smith. I feel like even if he loses this, we'll see him back, right? I don't think this is the one where he retires. I really don't think he'll win this matchup. Reyes is just much faster and much more powerful on the feet and has good takedown defense. But, you know, this is not going to be Anthony Smith's last fight. You know what? I wish Anthony Smith would just fight guys like Ihor Peteria or Cesar Almeida. You know, dangerous up-and-comers or dangerous guys outside of the rankings, but, like, big drop-off in competition compared to, like, the top 10. And he's just been fighting the top 10 for forever. Back in the day, he was somewhat competitive with top 10 guys. He's no longer competitive with top 10 guys, and I don't think he should continue fighting them. I think he should fight. Maybe, I understand he doesn't want to be a stepping stone, but still, you know, I just think that, like, he's just going to continue to get his ass kicked if he keeps fighting these top 10 guys. Like, fight old heads, fight like OSP, okay? Fight Ryan Spann for the 5th time. But I don't like him fighting Dominic Reyes. I actually like it this time because it means Reyes wins. But, you know, Anthony Smith, maybe move up to heavyweight. That would be good. Smith versus Shamil Gaziev would be amazing. Or, as I said back in the day, Smith versus MVP. If Smith wants to cut some weight and, you know, maybe fight someone who's a little bit more of his speed. Michael Venom Page versus Anthony Smith. The speed difference would be gnarly. That'd be interesting to watch. What else would be another good fight for Anthony Smith? If I'm being real. A good fight for Anthony Smith. I'm going to say Mick Parkin. I think Anthony Smith could beat Mick Parkin. I think he could beat Mick Parkin and outcraft him. That'd be a good fight. Mick Parkin, maybe Cesar Almeida, right? Something like that. Even though that'd be a tough one on the feet. But this is a dangerous matchup. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.